What's the best Wi-Fi name you've seen? I had a roommate that named ours Batlin and Login. I always thought that was clever. Crack Shack, which wasn't exactly creative, but we later found out that the owners were arrested for selling drugs. Edit. No. It was not a restaurant. We don't have a restaurant chain named Crack Shack in my state. Jenny, landlord's wife. I had a friend who had that. Hated his landlord. But the landlord couldn't find out which tenant was broadcasting it. The friend had it hooked up to a battery so the landlord couldn't cut the power to find out whose it was. For the longest time, I had my phone's hotspot name as Police Surveillance Tricycle. Turns out, it's a good way to get some people paranoid and have others amused over the whole thing when having it active during classes. We're not allowed to have our own routers on campus. So I named mine AT&T Mobile Hotspot. We don't have Wi-Fi password was I don't know hilarious when anyone asked him how to get on his Wi-Fi. It was like a vaudeville routine. I install internet etc. for a living. Best one I ever came up with was for the Delta Phi sorority. Delta Wi-Fi. They loved it. My favorite is, it's on the back of the router. Edit. On the back of the router it would say, ask my name for password. In my last apartment I named my Wi-Fi New England Clam Router. Always liked that one. I was in the back of a bus and the Wi-Fi name was, say Chicken Nuggets. I yelled Chicken Nuggets to the front of the bus. Someone replied, no spaces. I didn't get it at first, but after like 5 minutes I was like, wait. Put in Chicken Nuggets for the password and I was in. One of my sons, probably about 12 or 13 at the time, friend's father said added a Wi-Fi channel named Free Internet when his son had a birthday sleepover. The father then sat outside the area where they were sleeping and listened to them spend hours trying to figure out how to connect. My son called me that night asking how to connect to a Wi-Fi channel when you don't know the password because his friend forgot their password. I told him the only way was to guess. Evidently it kept them busy and out of trouble all night. Lord of the Pings. Password Legolas. I caused a small family panic when I named it Disconnected. Edit. Thank you guys for so much more evil ideas and suggestions. My family will suffer more and I'll burn in for sure. Thanks. Password. The password was Wi-Fi. My favorite was Mom. Click here for internet. Totally safe Wi-Fi. No spyware. Promise and let it open. Without password. 5G coronavirus test number 1 strength. 500%. My phone's hotspot is Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. When my grandma was getting her Wi-Fi set up, we asked her what she'd say to people who asked for her Wi-Fi. She said that she would tell them to go to. So that's now her password. So whenever people ask for the Wi-Fi password, she tells them, go to. Is this the Krusty Krab? The password was, no, this is Patrick. When my brother was in the Air Force Reserve, I went to his house one day and say his Wi-Fi name was LAN of the Free. Router. I hardly know her, was my all-time favorite. I like mine. I have a dual-band router with 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz. They are named Bees. The best Wi-Fi name that I found led me on an elaborate adventure. It was called Help Girl Kidnapped Floor 9 Apt 30C. On the door of that apartment was a post-it note that instructed me to go into the basement where there was a stash of free marshmallows. Grabbed enough to add into a cup of white hot chocolate. The most notable, and my least favorite, I can hear you masturbating. I lived in an apartment with thin walls. I was really self-conscious after that. Edit. Thanks for the awards and laughs. Stay safe fellow Redditors. I was driving around Europe the summer of 2008 and the only way I had to access the internet was through internet cafes or connecting my laptop to random open Wi-Fis. One night I parked in a somewhat secluded area to sleep and got horny, so I grabbed my laptop and did a Wi-Fi search. Found one it was named Say Nicht Higher, meaning don't stay here or don't be here. Noped really fast away from that spot. Used to live in a rough neighborhood with lots of addicts. Husband set ours to surveillance van number 1. Mine when I moved into my friend's house was not a meth lab. We lived in Muncie, in the meth capital of the state, and had the police knock on our door once. I mean mine is LAN Solo, which is pretty great. My dad named our Wi-Fi Money Pit growing up. He was reluctant to have to pay for Wi-Fi as opposed to our dial-up. He's gone now, but I still name my own Wi-Fi Money Pit because of him. It makes me happy. My mom's friend had someone mooching off his Wi-Fi, so he changed the name a passcode. He made the name Blue Balls and the passcode You Jim, and I have so much respect for this man. I peg on the first date. It was an apartment complex, so there were a lot of weird ones, but that one made me exhale air from my nose more than the others. The frat house across the street from me, it's not. It's brotherhood. Knock 5 times for head. Apt 507 I love San Francisco. Mine is Panic. At the Cisco Edit. Holy. Baby's first silver. Thank you. Edit 2 Electric Boogaloo. Baby's first gold. Thank you. Dad. Click here. I once renamed by Bluetooth Aucun Périphérique Trouvé, which translates to no device detected, then 2 weeks later spent 45 minutes cursing my phone for not being detectable. Then it hit me. I've played myself. I'm a fan of Bill Y. The Science Fi. My dad named ours Nacho Wi-Fi because we had neighbors who moved in who were stealing our Wi-Fi. They had kids our age and I was hanging out with one of them. When they said they had Wi-Fi, I said, "Oh how?" and they said that no one from the Wi-Fi company came by. But they still managed to get some from somewhere. He didn't know where. Turns out his parents were using our Wi-Fi and not telling them because they didn't want them telling us and us telling our parents, us being me and my little brother. My dad said the Wi-Fi had been slower. I told him what the kid said and he immediately locked the Wi-Fi. We didn't know there wasn't a password set on it. So then came the dad joke Wi-Fi name. Nacho Wi-Fi. For those who don't get it. Not your Wi-Fi. Nacho Wi-Fi. I went from 4 karma to 1.0 K karma because my dad is a practical jokester who had the opportunity to use a dad joke. And did so amazingly. Thank you. Reddit. Mine is Toilet Cam 2. I live in a big apartment complex. I really hope it has caused some sleepless nights. I was in an Apple store. And saw Carl's newer fancy phone. I'm happy for Carl. My neighbor completely ruined the ending of Infinity War for me. Since he was beginning to watch Game of Thrones and I was spiteful, I changed my Wi-Fi networks to greater than, Ned Stark dies season 1, less than, and greater than, Jon Snow dies season 5, less than. I'm not proud of it. But it did give some small satisfaction. Edit. Messed up a spoiler. $3.99 per minute. That's my personal hotspot name always. My family were staying in Philadelphia for a couple days and were staying in an Airbnb apartment. One Wi-Fi said, "I know apartment number" is an illegal Airbnb. Other were just things like potato salad and random. Super slow. When I hovered over the Wi-Fi button in Windows, the pop-up said, "Super slow internet access." I thought that was pretty cool. Our neighbors was 1 wiener and 2. They had a dachshund and 2 cats. My friend named her hotspot Yell Leroy Jenkins for password. It's really fun to turn it on at a XC meet. My favorite was the guy goes into a bar and asks for the Wi-Fi password. The bartender says, "You have to buy a drink first." The guy says, "Okay," and gives the bartender $5. Then he says, "Okay. What's the password?" The bartender says, "You have to buy a drink first." All lowercase. No spaces. For a house with 6 female roommates. 12. A neighbor of mine had theirs called 2 girls. 1 router. Edit. As if the most upvotes I've received has been because of a feckin' Wi-Fi password, which is an ancient sin to Google. Gonna throw my hat in the ring. I've been rocking happy Wi-Fi happy Li-Fi since we bought our house 2.5 years ago. My new neighbor was impressed. I have 2 routers. 1. FBI surveillance vehicle. 2. Russian surveillance of FBI. A friend started living in a student's flat with a Wi-Fi named Gandalf the Grey. But because the one paying for it moved shortly after he cancelled the subscription. After a time without Wi-Fi. The next time I went to her flat they got the Wi-Fi back. But it was now named Gandalf the White. Mine is Aperture Science. I figure people who get it will chuckle. And those who don't will just think someone has a business out of their place. Cheeky smiley face. I generally pair it with naming one of my electronics GLaDOS too. Edit. Autocorrect typo. Asena AO telephone, which translates to, the password is the phone number. Turns out the password was in fact the phone number. I love in an apartment. Best one I've seen is, shut your dog up. Pretty fly for a Wi-Fi. Edit. My first ever award. Thank you, mystery person.